Hello, everyone. I have a new story from Edgar Allan Poe, and it's called The Miller. When I first got this story, I thought it was quite interesting because it sort of has an old-fashioned term, someone that mills grains, and you don't really think about that as a profession these days. But it was an interesting concept that obviously was influenced by some of the things that have been going on in our world regarding labor and work, and the experience that many people have, being in the mill or the treadmill, for that matter, and also the struggle with trying to make a living. The next couple of stories that I have channeled in from Edgar Allan Poe are referencing some of the things that the 12D Pleiadians have done, and this is one of those stories.
The Miller. If you have had any bread, any grain or flour, you have partaken from the energy of the miller wheel's power. The miller was placed amongst humans to remind us that we need to keep up our fast pace. This construct was not from the divine. It was a Pleiadian mastermind to keep humans at work as the Pleiadians helped themselves climb. The villages were set. Each carried their weight at best. And then came in the entitled, who wanted lace sleeves and silk vests. But what would anyone think if I labored real hard? I'm from the upper crust, and dirty fingers are not allowed. The humans, full of creativity and the ability to survive, created lovely villages and good food all around. The Pleiadians were pleased to see that the villagers were content. They enjoyed their hard labor, so they went on to raise their rent. But we have many needs, and we don't want to see you frolic and play. This is the privilege that was only made for us to be in happy celebrating each day. Something must keep them working so we can gain in every way. So they found something everyone needed, a commodity or two, and put a curse upon to make the workers into slavery too. They worked until the morning, as they usually did till dawn. But wait, I see behind me, most of the gristmill grain is now gone. There used to be large piles of soft milled grain by day's end. Instead, I see mere morsels for all the labor that I spent. But the miller kept on working now till evening, with great might until he returned home, feeling strife amongst his wife.
You labor much too long. The children are still not fed. I waited and I waited, but sent the children off to bed. You bring home only morsels. Good God, what do you do? Isn't there anything more you can do to help your loving family through?
She was not very angry, but spoke more or less in fear. The miller's life was empty, working hard in much despair. He could not pay the rent, as it would rise, as they saw fit, and then he was removed and replaced by another miller who would work. This time he brought in corn and made others sell the wheat. The man with a face of a hard stone, he seemed less human than men should seem. He worked long hours, but very much like a machine. The Pleiadians thought to keep the replacement because he works well for what they need. Let us make some more products and larger gristmills, and let's also sell seed. Then they put all the fancy names of all the products they would sell, They filled it up with magic so it would sell, sell, and sell. We will take on all the profits and not allow the miller to own any type of mill from now on. All humanity will we own. So the millers made the change in the labor force of pain. They suffered and they toiled until they woke up to do it again. The stirring of the people and knowing how to see the thoughts of humankind. The Pleiadians said, "We must continue, but the miller now needs a bride." So the Pleiadians created a belief and a great promise to find in the end. You will toil and labor hard, but your reward is in the afterlife, my friends. Believe real hard and imagine a day when your hard work life is finished and you will be rewarded someday by a shining light that will guide you to paradise. Your life will then have purpose and you will see the bread and circus. But in the end, you will spend your time with approval from the divine. Well, this was not so, and this was not true. But many human souls began to build churches, white and new. This kept the people happy, knowing in the end they too get a crown. The Pleiadians kept taking when no one else was around. They took from the mill and from the blacksmith too. They kept taking with a fee, and also the rent did go up too. If you want to live in our world, you must know we own the land. So they pulled out their clocks and made hourglasses of sand. This made time slip away as young men quickly turned to gray. They had little time to watch their children play, and their wives worked alone by day. It was a sorrowful time, or is it yet not over? Then the churches left some barren, then they began to look for fun moreover. A drink here and a drink there, a bit of snuff or tobacco to share. The habits grew and the genders began to collide. The ladies left their family and the sacred church for wine. They hid within the shadows, appealing to the miller, and then the Pleiadians enjoyed this game, because then humans became more interesting. We do like when they frolic, away from their maiden brides. This thing that they call love is something we do very much despise. We want to see them broken, and maybe fractured much too. The ones who have the least conscience can join us in back to pervert them too. We will make them all our fellows. We will make them the poison in the pot. This will lock the miller down forever, and all the laborers, families, and lot. This is our slave system, or should we say, we gave them a choice, but we will deny that we manipulated them and took away their voice. The curse upon the miller is something we must release. This was not a part of our destiny to work hard without any peace. The gristmill turned into a treadmill. Is there nothing more that we should know? This was a curse of magic from the Pleiadians, as I thought you should know. Humanity's destiny is to work and to gain, to not be overburdened by a very tired brain. When we are much too tired, we miss all of the tricks about the way they send us to sleep to keep us in a treadmill fix. We must awaken again and again as we should do. No one will do this for us because it is our planet to create it anew. Here is what we will say. I do not consent to any curse on me and my home in any way. I will labor with abundance. I will take back what is mine. I will not give away my power or let others profit from my mind. I am a sovereign being. I change the ways that I will live. I won't become a captive to any curse or control system they give. I will treasure my loved ones deep within my soul, so no one can ever take what we had worked hard to hold. I will give my family a better future, much better than mine. I will pass the cup of plenty because I'm connected to the divine. I no longer need to listen to the orders of the Pleiadians. They had made the work enticing and the lifestyle to seem more stable. But I know I can begin in a humble home at first, whatever it may take to be independent, sovereign, and aligned with Source.
Okay, so that is the story of the Miller, read by Rolf. And well, let's take a look at this and break it down a bit. Essentially, he's saying if you've ever had any bread, any grain or flour, you have partaken of the energy of the Miller wheel's power. It's very interesting that when you look at the labor that goes into this and how everyone has been affected by it. So essentially it's a curse that they put on the Miller, and that affects all of our food. And currently, obviously, that we're struggling over particularly the breads and the grains being violated through GMOs and altered, and so many terrible things happening to our food source, as their attempt is to just keep on pumping out more productivity, making more money at the expense of our health and well-being. And so, the purity of the grain, it was a wonderful thing when they started hybridizing it and messing around with it. Obviously, it became more of a toxin to our body than something that was positive and enhancing our health. But originally, the grain had so much to give to us, and even particularly wheat. It talks about wheat, and then there's a shift in the story that talks about how then they went to corn. And I thought that was interesting he brought that up. Now, I'm not really 100% sure why the difference in the wheat and the corn came up, but maybe it's something for us to think about, and how the productivity and the way that things, the governments are using farms to kind of pump out certain types of foods. Maybe it's easy to hybridize or alter or change some of the corn products as opposed to the wheat. I don't know, but I mean, there's definitely, this is a mess. It goes on to say that the villagers are set, let's say, they carry their own weight. They were doing just fine until this group of 12 Pleiadians came in, and they of course, they would never get their hands dirty, and they expected to be sitting in the background while everyone else labored, so that they would have time to enjoy their lives or enjoy their time on the earth, because that's what they're here for in the first place. So, and of course, they like to look pretty. Both the male and female, like their presentation has to have a certain way about it. It goes on further and said that they were starting to see that humans were enjoying their life a bit. They raised their rent, but they were still enjoying their life. And so then they said, I don't know if we really like this, that they're enjoying their life. That's something that we should be doing. So then they decided to put out more productivity, and the miller wasn't doing very well. So now his very own mill gets taken from him and given to another individual, and they essentially say he's like a machine. This other guy works very, very hard. And you see that the miller, of course, was struggling and working all day, and then goes now having to labor into the night because of this treadmill that they created So it looks like they're working hard, but it's almost like, that statement where they say you've got holes in your pockets. And so no matter how much money you put in your pocket, some of it is going out at the same time. And that's a curse. And so they put this energy into the professions of humanity. And it starts to bring some type of pressure on the family. The wife is waiting for the husband to come home. He has to work more hours, and then when he comes home, he has less. So, there's this problem with the strain in the family life. It trickles down into everything. And then, the miller, of course, has to go and work for someone. He no longer owns his own mill. And then they talk about how the next process is like a sequence of events. It starts off with a somewhat appearing to be benevolent group, this 12D Pleiadian, coming in and kind of overseeing everything, setting up their government and making sure that they have what they need, watching productivity grow, and then seeing what else that they can gain from it. So they increase, change, create new products, have those that will work well with them and support them, but the others, that keep them in this treadmill. So then they realize, well, this is probably going to have some kind of anarchy, and as a result, they create this religion where the humans then can hope for a better afterlife, since they weren't getting any promise of a present life of happiness. So the only promise that they had was the afterlife at this point, and for many of them they were satisfied, which doesn't make any sense to me, but you can see this happening, and it has happened throughout history. The next phase, you see that there are those that don't buy into that system, see that it is corrupt and doesn't give any type of fulfillment, and so they begin to indulge in habits and drinking and so forth, and so then you see the women also don't want to stay home with their children. They're discontent because it's a lot of work, and so it breaks up the family. And of course they prefer this. They seem to find this interesting. They're not happy with the idea and concept of love, monogamy, and so then they start to reward those that are living this double life. So in the end, we see, just another key point about that, I thought it was kind of funny. There is that Miller beer is something that was pretty popular in the United States, and I always think of Miller time. So it seems to fit well with the story. In the end, I like the way Poe brings in a way for us to reconstruct step away from the construct and reconstruct our own, and saying that we will labor with abundance. We will take back what is ours. We're not going to give away our power or let other people profit off of our mind, which is like our ideas, our creativity. We're taking back our sovereignty and figuring out new ways and taking ownership of what belongs to us. So with that said, I hope you enjoy the story, even though it is upsetting to see some of the things that transpired, but it's really good to look at it and not to see it as a situation without options, but opportunity. Because once you shed light on something, then you have the opportunity to change your path, the way that you're doing things, and create that new reality that you desire and you want and you deserve. And that's it for the story about the miller. Thank you.